On Anne's birthday, he sits alone in his house, feeling completely relaxed. He cuts a piece of cake and sits in front of a picture of his deceased mother, talking to her as if she were still alive, celebrating his birthday with her. He tells her that he has been accepted into an organization called the local sect and that he will soon become a magician, which is a big deal for him. Suddenly, as the clock strikes midnight, strange things start happening. The fire turns green, the TV starts switching channels by itself, and the clock keeps spinning. And here's someone talking to him, but he can't see anyone and feels that it's a strange spirit. He quickly grabs a charm to ward off spirits, but it doesn't work. The spirit keeps talking to him, and then Anne's eyes change color, allowing him to see the spirits around him. It's revealed that he has hidden abilities, one of which is seeing spirits. The spirit praises him and his abilities. The spirit laughs and says it will stop scaring him. Suddenly, an old man's spirit appears in front of Anne, saying he has been waiting for this moment for a long time. He grabs Anne and they both disappear. They find themselves at the border between the spiritual world and the mortal world. The old man tells him that he wants to make him a magician in the spiritual world. He casts a spell to bind into the spiritual world, giving him a small, mechanical-like ball called Ding Dong that only Anne can see. He also gives Anne a letter of recommendation to study at a place called the Spiritual World Academy of Magic. Anne accepts everything without hesitation, surprising the old man who thought he would need to convince him. The old man asks why Anne is so eager, even though he will have to leave the mortal world and never return, and explains that he has nothing to stay for in his world and is excited to go to a new place, and then asks why he was chosen, but the old man says he will find out everything later. The spirit advises him to take care of the letter and not to lose it as he walks to the academy's gate, warning him that the journey won't be as easy as he thinks. The spirit wishes him luck in finding a partner in magic and leaves. After the spirit leaves, and stands there in disbelief, looking at the gate in awe. Ding Dong appears and introduces itself as the guide for magic beginners. As Anne talks to Ding Dong to understand more, a strange portal starts to appear, looking like it's about to explode, and asks Ding Dong about it, and Ding Dong explains that a magician had a problem while crossing the borders, and asks how he can help, and Ding Dong raises his hand towards the portal, absorbing all the energy before it explodes. Suddenly, a girl emerges from the portal, crashing into Anne so hard that it almost knocks him out. She quickly helps him up, apologizes, and thanks him for saving her, and, recovering, finds her very nice and they become friends. Ding Dong tells him that he needs to change his clothes to fit in with the people of the spiritual world, offering him a selection of outfits that it quickly dresses him in. The girl, impressed by Anne's transformation, introduces herself as Shu, and introduces himself too, saying he's from the mortal world. Shu is very surprised because people from the mortal world aren't supposed to enter the spiritual world, and shows her his recommendation letter, and Shu, upon seeing it, understands why she couldn't gauge his magical level, and doesn't understand, so Shu explains that he will understand soon and takes him with her to the academy. When they reach the academy, Anne is amazed by what he sees, people flying above him in a vast, seemingly endless place. Shu explains that the academy is a large continent floating in the sky, and is particularly amazed by the flying people, and Shu tells him that he could fly like them when he reaches a level called spiritual nurturing. As they walk, they hear a lot of people cheering for the number 1 rank. They go to see what's happening and find a student named Ji touching a crystal in the rocks, which determines his level as 9 in the first rank, and everyone cheers for him, and stands there, not understanding anything. Shu explains that around 10,000 students enter the academy every year, divided into 100 classes or factions, with each faction having levels. The highest faction is the first faction, and the lowest level is 0, which is why everyone was cheering for G because level 9 in the first faction is a big deal. She also explains that the crystal is the energy center of the academy and the spiritual world, determining the students' levels. Next, a student named Ching presents his recommendation letter to the academy's teachers. Everyone is amazed because such letters are only given to high-level geniuses, and it's rare to have more than 1 student with such a letter in a year. Then it's Shu's turn. She's well known at the academy, and many people are eager to see which faction she will be in. Shu places her hand on the crystal, which reveals her level as 9 in the first faction, and everyone applauds her. Finally, it's Anne's turn. Shu encourages him to find out his level, and, feeling nervous and afraid that he might not have any level since he's never used magic before, tries to calm himself and goes to one of the professors presenting his recommendation letter. Everyone is shocked because this year is special, having 2 such letters instead of 1, which is extremely rare. The professor opens the letter and is even more surprised to see it's from Master Lu. The crowd focuses on An, learning that he has a letter from Lu, a famous and highly esteemed figure in the spiritual world whose level has never been surpassed. Another professor, Min, gazes at An strangely, smiling slyly, and says that he believes An will bring many miracles to the academy soon, impressing everyone and making them cheer for An. This praise fills An with confidence, perhaps too much, and he places his hand on the crystal. The crystal reveals An's level as 0 in the first faction. Professor Min, who had just spoken about An's potential, announces that the first faction has never recorded such a low level in 1,000 years. The crowd quickly turns against An, calling him a fraud because someone with his level couldn't possibly be in the first faction, and wishes the ground would swallow him up out of embarrassment. Qing, who also had a recommendation letter, asks Professor Min to revoke An's result because it's a disgrace. Min refuses, saying he can't take away An's result. Qing, getting angry, challenges An to a duel in front of everyone. Ding Dong appears to An, telling him to run away before Qing finishes him off. An, feeling anxious and unsure of what to do, is taken by Shu, who flies him away, promising to protect and help him just as he helped her. She takes him to a safe place to sleep and there An can't believe what happened. He asks Ding Dong what he can do to change it and Ding Dong tells him he can raise his level a bit. An is happy and asks her how. She tells him that to reach the first level he needs to do 10 push-ups. An is amazed at how easy it is, does them quickly, and feels stronger now that he's reached the first level. He keeps going until he reaches the 3rd stage, getting stronger each time. When he looks to see what he needs to do to reach the 4th stage, he finds out he has to do 10 billion push-ups, and is shocked by the number and knows he'll never reach the 4th stage. He goes for a walk out of boredom but suddenly gets attacked by a man in a black mask and disguise, and notices and they start fighting. The skills An gained from reaching the 3rd stage show he's very fast and strong, able to defend himself. In the middle of their fight, An tries to remove the mask from the attacker's face. He succeeds and finds out it's Lu, who was at the academy with him earlier. Lu was one of those who hated An, thinking he was a cheater and caused others to be unfairly placed in unsuitable classes. Lu, filled with rage, prepares a spell. Ding Dong appears and tells An to run because the spell is too powerful for him to handle, and there's only one way to counter it. An, nervous, asks how, and Ding Dong tells him to reflect all the energy from the spell back. An asks how to do that, and Ding Dong casually says he'll figure it out later, and gets frustrated with her unhelpful answers. Lu is about to cast the spell, but Shou arrives, stops him, and saves An. Shou and Lu fight until Shou wins and subdues Lu. Another person arrives and threatens An. When they look, it's another Lu. They are shocked to see 2 of him. The Lu who was fighting tries to hit Shou, but An steps in front and takes the blow, managing to reflect it back to Lu. Lu then flees, and An collapses from the strong attack. Shou helps him and checks if he's okay. The Lu who came to threaten An approaches, intending to attack, but Shou yells at him, scaring him off. When An recovers, he and Shou talk, and Shou tells him she believes he will achieve great things in the future and must have come to the academy for a reason. She promises to protect him until he can defend himself. The next day, An and Shou go to the academy together. An notices everyone talking about him and realizes he's become the academy's enemy after just one day. He feels upset and vows to become the best student because he's always been smart. He enters confidently, believing it won't be too hard. However, the first class he attends is taught by a tree, which leaves him bewildered. Later, a very beautiful and highly regarded girl named Su enters, admired by everyone, including An. Then, Qing enters, giving An a challenging look, clearly disliking him. As the lesson starts, and prepares to focus but finds the tree only says a few words and stops, and doesn't understand anything, seeing everyone around him in a specific posture with their eyes closed. Determined not to get discouraged, he reassures himself that he will understand in the next lesson. In the second lesson, the teacher is a sword, and in the third, it's fire. And fails to grasp anything from these lessons and becomes frustrated, feeling hopeless. His hope is reignited when Professor Yu enters and takes on a human form, making him feel he might finally understand something. Yu says she will teach about human life and makes him the representative of humanity in the academy since he's from the mortal world. She hands out phones to the students and tells them to play with them throughout the lecture. An, stunned, can't believe this is all they are doing. He confronts Yu, asking if they could study something else related to the mortal world, like history or science. Yu dismisses this as boring and insists on enjoy and play with the phone, leaving him frustrated. After the lecture, another teacher named Min arrives to teach numerology and refocuses, hopeful he will finally learn something. Min tells them to count from 1 to 3, fall asleep, and remember everything they dreamed to analyze it later. Min counts to 3 and everyone falls asleep and tries to stay awake, but Min tells him he has a big secret and should prepare for a lot of blood after waking up. Unable to resist and falls asleep and wakes up to Sho shaking him, saying he's been asleep for a long time, even into the next class, and initially thinks it's another boring human life lesson, but Sho informs him it's about magical life this time and urges him to focus as it's easy to understand. She also whispers that Professor Yu is holding a contest, a duel between pairs of students to showcase their skills, and she and An should pair up, and is puzzled and asks why. Sho explains she doesn't want him to compete with others as their levels are higher and they might hurt him badly. Professor Yu interrupts them, asking Ching to start the duel and chooses An as his opponent, and is frightened, recalling Min's words about waking up to a lot of blood, thinking he meant this duel. Sho intervenes, requesting to fight Ching instead of An due to the vast difference in their levels, but Yu refuses and tells An to prepare, and reassures the worried Sho, saying he'll be okay, and steps forward. However, Sho quickly attacks Ching with all her might. Ching defends easily, showing he's much stronger, while Sho struggles. Ching tells her to stop as the duel is with An, not her, but Sho persists. Ching creates an impenetrable barrier around himself, and Sho keeps attacking, but Sho still doesn't stop, so Ching gets annoyed and tells her that he will start fighting her for real. He is about to cast a spell on her when suddenly Ding Dong appears to An and tells him that he can fight Cheng and shows him a spot in Cheng's barrier and explains to An how to break through it, and then announces in front of everyone that he accepts the challenge against Cheng and wants to fight him. When Cheng is about to cast the spiritual spell on Sho, which is the strongest spell possible, and steps in front of Sho and blocks the spiritual spell with another spell, which turns out to be stronger. Everyone is shocked by what they see and begins to wonder how it happened. Even Professor Yu starts to question how An, who is only at the 3rd level, could do something that even someone at the higher levels couldn't do. Then An and Cheng continue their fight, and throws a spell at Cheng, but it doesn't hit Cheng, it hits the barrier. At that moment, Cheng casts another spell that binds An in chains, making him unable to move. But suddenly, An breaks the chains easily and shatters the barrier, leaving everyone stunned by his strength. At that moment, Cheng remembers when An threw his spell at him and hit the barrier, realizing that An did it on purpose. Cheng is impressed by An's intelligence, although he doesn't show it. The fight ends, and An wins. Not only that, but he also reaches the 4th level, leaving everyone in awe, unable to believe that he reached the 4th level in just one day and amazed by everything that happened in the battle. Professor Yu approaches An, pleased with him, and welcomes him to the academy. After that, she ends the lecture and leaves. Ding Dong appears to An and shows him the things he needs to do to reach the 5th level, including collecting a large number of spiritual stones, and doesn't understand what these are or what they mean. Later, Cheng comes to An and admits that he is impressed by him and his intelligence, telling him not to hesitate if he needs anything, and tells him that he needs some of those spiritual stones. Sho looks at An, embarrassed, and tells him that he shouldn't ask for money from anyone, and realizes that spiritual stones are the currency in the spiritual world and feels very embarrassed. He takes back his request in front of Cheng, but Cheng is very kind and gives him a ring worth a lot of money and then leaves, and talks to himself, thinking that with this money, he might reach the 7th level, not just the 5th. Later, Sue, the beautiful girl everyone likes, comes to An and tells him that he is very strong and asks to be friends with him, and readily agrees without thinking and is very happy that he is starting to change everyone's opinion of him. A few days later, Ding Dong tells An that the academy is hosting a competition in which all students must participate, called the Survival Battle. She tells him that he must be among the top 50 to win and receive many prizes, such as weapons and magical resources. However, if he doesn't win, he will be turned into a beautiful girl for a year, and imagines himself losing and turning into a girl, feeling terrified by the idea. He starts training very hard and gives the spiritual stones he has to Ding Dong, reaching the 7th level. When he tests his strength, he finds that he has become much faster and stronger than before, and is thrilled and asks Ding Dong for details about the battle. Ding Dong tells him that it will take place in a forest and that about 50,000 students will participate, and worries about the large number and asks Ding Dong about his ranking among them. Ding Dong tells him that he is ranked 29,000th among the competitors, shocking An and making him realize that he stands little chance against the others. The next day, An meets Sho and talks to her about the competition. He tries to hint at whether she will still be his friend if he turns into a girl. Sho doesn't understand him and feels even more nervous and embarrassed by what he said. He runs away and leaves her, going to Cheng and telling him about the competition. He behaves strangely and Cheng doesn't understand him either. Eventually, Cheng, Sho, and Su gather and realize that An is afraid of turning into a girl. They laugh and tease him so much that An, seeing them, can't stand it. He tells Ding Dong that they must win this competition, and goes home and asks Ding Dong about the tasks he needs to complete to reach the 8th level. Ding Dong tells him that he needs to find something called the mountain core and eat it to increase his strength, and then challenge someone at the 9th level or higher and defeat them. When he accomplishes all of this, not only will his level increase, but his ranking among the competitors will also rise to 4,000. This is great news for An, and he thinks of Sho because he knows she is at the 9th level. He tells himself that he could ask her to lose to him so that he can increase his strength. The next day, An goes to the academy with Sho and confirms if she is indeed at the 9th level. Sho tells him that she reached the 10th level a while ago, ever since she fought the masked man who attacked An on his first day at the academy. An, feeling a bit hesitant, tells Sho that he wants to ask her for a favor. Sho playfully asks if the favor has anything to do with him becoming a girl, and becomes more nervous and fumbles with his words. Sho calms him down and praises his strength, assuring him that he will do well in the competition. Hearing all the kind words from Sho, An feels very embarrassed to ask her to fight and let him win, so he quickly asks her, embarrassed, to get the mountain core for him because he needs it. Sho, being very kind, tells him that she will get it for him as soon as possible, and goes to Cheng after the academy and tells him what happened with Sho, feeling upset. He tells Cheng that he doesn't know how to ask her and feels very embarrassed. He sits there, unsure of what to do, and asks Cheng if he can fight him instead. But, as An expects, Cheng refuses, and tells him to forget about it. The next day, An goes to the academy as usual and sits with Sho, trying to think of a way to tell her that he wants to fight her until she loses. Just as he is about to tell her, Sho interrupts him and says that she has been searching for the mountain core and found it in a certain place. She is going to get it for him as soon as possible. Sho then asks him to continue what he was about to say, and feels even more embarrassed and doesn't know what to say. He asks her to get all the data on the competitors in the competition. Sho, in her usual sweet manner, tells him that she will ask about all of them and get him all the information as quickly as possible. After finishing with Sho, An goes home and sits with Cheng again, crying until Cheng gets tired of him. Cheng advises him to go to Sho the next day and finally tell her what he wants, teaching him a few moves to quickly defeat Sho and get it over with. The next day, An takes Sho to a quiet and slightly romantic place, kneels, and tells her that he wants to say something he has been wanting to say for 2 days but didn't know how and was too embarrassed. Sho feels from his words that he is going to confess his feelings for her, so she also feels very shy and waits for him to speak. And, feeling nervous, tells her that he wants to fight her. Sho thinks that he didn't confess his feelings because he got nervous and just said something random again. She tries to calm him down and enthusiastically tells him that she agrees to what he asked, and is very happy, thinking that she agreed to let him fight her. And prepared himself, and suddenly, he cast a spell he learned from Ching, binding her. Just as he was about to strike her, she started to cry, saying she never imagined he would actually hit her, and stopped immediately before hitting her, about to apologize, but she threw a bag of stuff at his face and ran away crying, leaving him behind. And also went to cry to Ching about what happened. Ching told him he should go apologize to Shu the next day, assuring him she was kind and would forgive him quickly. That night, An checked what was in the bag Shu threw at him earlier. He found the mountain essence and information about the competitors. He started consuming the mountain essence and reading what Shu had written about the competitors. She detailed everything from A to Z, even leaving notes like, "If you see this competitor, run away immediately or call me for help," and felt immense guilt for upsetting her since she was the closest person to him. Determined not to wait until the next day, and decided to apologize to Shu immediately. But his luck turned sour as the mountain essence he consumed upset his stomach badly. Ding Dong told him he needed to spend 12 continuous days in the bathroom to recover, and was shocked by the duration and felt extremely unlucky. Meanwhile, Shu was in her room, staying up late, expecting An to come and apologize anytime. By the next day, she was still awake, and An hadn't come to apologize, making her even more upset. And, still in the bathroom from the previous day, didn't even go to the academy. Ching, worried, went to An's house to check on him. When he arrived, he knocked, but An didn't open. Ching thought An was still embarrassed because of what happened with Shu and told him to apologize and move on. An responded, telling Ching he couldn't open the door because he was sick and explained what happened after eating the mountain essence. Ching laughed at him and cast a spell to speed up An's recovery. The spell worked, reducing the number of days An needed to stay in the bathroom, making An very happy and asking Ching to keep going until all the days were gone. Ching continued the spell until the next day, the day of the competition, leaving An with only 8 hours left, and had to endure and go to the competition with a stomachache. At the academy, everyone gathered for the competition, and An stood aside, feeling unwell. Shu saw him, still wondering why he hadn't apologized yet. When everyone was gathered, a man named Yuha introduced the competition and the judges, explaining that each student had a yellow barrier to protect them. If the barrier was broken, they would be out of the competition. The one who broke the most barriers would be among the top 50 and win many prizes. After explaining, he announced the start of the competition, teleporting the contestants to the forest where they would compete. Each player landed in a random spot, and everyone started attacking each other. An landed in front of Lu, who wanted to attack him, but An couldn't tolerate himself. As soon as he shouted at Lu, Lu got scared and walked away, and then searched for a place to hide until the 8 hours passed. Lu, meanwhile, encountered Ji, who frightened him. Ji promised to spare him if Lu found a group of about 100 weak students hiding somewhere. Lu, scared, agreed immediately. An, hiding, only had 5 minutes left to recover when someone found him, ready to attack. 4 other friends joined, saying they would take him down because none of them liked him. They accused him of cheating and were jealous of him because they liked Shu. An asked for 5 minutes, promising to fight them afterward, but they refused. He tricked them, saying he would fight only the strongest among them. The 4 started fighting each other to prove who was stronger, giving him the 5 minutes he needed to recover. Once recovered, An attacked, defeating all 4 and breaking their barriers. An's points increased, but Ding Dong informed him that his ranking dropped to 8th, with his overall rank falling to 43,000 after 11 hours of the competition. Lu, looking for An, found him and asked him to come along. An followed, finding himself led to the hiding place of the weak students Ji was looking for. Lu asked An to defeat them gently. An was surprised, and Lu explained that they were afraid of the other competitors who wouldn't show them mercy. They wanted An to knock them out gently so they wouldn't get hurt. And, seeing this as an opportunity, agreed and gently defeated them, taking them out of the competition, raising his rank to 7,000. And rested, checking his rank, but Ding Dong warned him of a strong competitor approaching. The competitor cut the tree and was hiding under in a second, emitting a light so bright and couldn't even look at him. Just as the competitor was about to strike, another competitor, Huan, appeared, far stronger, and defeated the attacker. And, in awe, remembered reading about Huan and her strength in Shu's notes. He was terrified as Huan, looking dangerous and scary from afar, approached. Episode 6. But as Huan got closer and saw she was beautiful and kind-looking, she recognized An, admiring him for being human, as she loved the mortal world. She insisted on playing a game with him, pestering him until he agreed out of fear. Huan was delighted and thought of a game. They would play a 20-question game in 10 minutes, and if she didn't finish her questions in time, An would lose his neck. They found a spot to sit and Huan started questioning. Unexpectedly, the game was full of laughter and fun, with both enjoying their time. Huan asked An about the academy and who he thought was prettier, Su or Shu, and hesitated to answer. Huan got annoyed, threatening him with the time limit, and said Su, upsetting Huan, who insisted he should have chosen Shu, his closest friend, and explained he had a fight with Shu and hadn't spoken to her for a while, recounting the incident. Huan laughed at him, and then Huan asks him one last question, which is a bit deeper. Would you prefer to be an ordinary but happy human, or live forever as a sorcerer but be lonely? At that moment, An remembers his birthday, imagines his mother, and recalls the first time he met Shou and Qing and his friends. He tells Huan that he wants to be someone who can elevate humans and make all sorcerers like him happy, wanting to make the world a better place for everyone. Huan is impressed by his answer and tells him that he has won the question game, and thinks that he can leave now, but Huan stops him and tells him that they're not done playing yet and will keep playing until the boring competition is over. Ding Dong warns him that if he continues like this, he won't be able to reach the top 50 who will win, and asks if there's any way or solution he can do, and Ding Dong tells him that he needs to reach the 9th level. To do that, An needs to climb to the top of the black rock and absorb its energy, which will make him stronger and allow him to reach the 9th level, enabling him to deal with Huan and leave. When An looks at the black rock that Ding Dong tells him about, he sees it up in the sky. He thinks about how to reach it until he comes up with an idea to get Huan to take him there since she can fly, and tricks her and says he will take her to a quiet place where they can play freely and points to the rock. Huan immediately flies him up. Meanwhile, Shou uses a spell to track An, and when she finds out he has gone to the rock above, she wonders why and how he got there. Suddenly, a magical talking dog named Dobby, known for sticking his nose into everything, appears behind her. When Dobby sees Shou using the tracking spell, he immediately knows she is spying on An and tells her the last time he saw An, he was hiding until his stomach ache subsided. Sho asks him about the stomach ache, not understanding, so he tells her the story of An's illness. Sho realizes that An probably didn't come to apologize because he was ill, and she secretly feels happy but doesn't show it. An reaches the top of the rock with Hwan and starts absorbing its power, but this process will take him a whole day. Suddenly, An finds Hwan talking to someone named Dao on the rock, asking who he is and how he climbed the rock with such a low level. Dao tells her that he was just passing by and, before jumping off the rock, tells him that he has been waiting for him for a long time. Finally, he says, with light and earth, karma will end, and then he disappears, leaving everyone confused. When An asks Hwan about Dao, she surprisingly tells him no one was there since they arrived, and thinks he was hallucinating and doesn't care about what happened. Then we see Professor Yu and Professor Min watching from above. Yu expresses her curiosity about Dao, who is a student with a recommendation letter at the 8th level but spends his life only escaping. Min laughs and tells her he can't believe she also fell for Dao's lies. Yu, confused, asks about Dao, and Min explains that he's not escaping, just avoiding karma. She asks about Dao's level, but Min says he's not focused on that. He's more interested in An because there are about 7 students in the academy with recommendation letters, and all of their fates are strangely linked to An. Yu tells him the real mystery is that when the academy's headmaster disappeared 100 years ago, the last person he appointed was Min. Since then, Yu has been searching for information about Min but found nothing. Back in the competition, Sho is fighting with Ji, who tells her to stop protecting An and even tries to provoke her by saying he was the one who attacked An the first time, not Lu, using a spell to change his appearance. He threatens that if she keeps protecting An, he will finish them both off. At that moment, Sho realizes Ji is very powerful and has no choice but to run away. Meanwhile, An and Hwan are playing games on their phones, competing against each other, having a great time, and seemingly forgetting about the competition entirely. But then Ding Dong interrupts An to tell him he has only 5 minutes left to absorb the energy he needs from the rock. An asks her why he doesn't need a whole day, and Ding Dong explains that because he was happy a while ago, his absorption ability increased and now he needs to prepare to attack Hwan. At that moment, Hwan, who has grown fond of An, asks if they can always be friends and tells him he is her only friend and how lonely she feels. An feels very guilty for her. But then Hwan sees the energy An absorbed from the rock glowing yellow and realizes something is wrong, understanding that An used her to get here. When she asks him about the energy, An can't lie to her and tells her everything, explaining that he's absorbing this energy now to be able to attack her. Hwan gets very angry and tells him to prepare for a fight, drawing her weapon and preparing her spells. At that moment, the energy An absorbed uncontrollably bursts out and hits Hwan. Hwan is upset and tells him she didn't think he would actually attack her, and tries to explain that it happened by accident and that he changed his mind and didn't want to hurt her. Hwan decides to believe him because she doesn't want to lose her only friend, and then tells Hwan about Ding Dong, who is responsible for him, and told him he needed to do all this, absorb the rock's energy, and attack her. He explains he had to listen to Ding Dong because he couldn't think of another solution, and even tells Hwan that Ding Dong made him eat the mountain essence, taking it out to show her. Before he can tell her about his stomach ache, Hwan grabs it and eats it herself, causing her stomach to hurt badly, and asks Ding Dong what he can do, and Ding Dong tells him he can transfer some of the absorbed energy to her to alleviate her pain, and does this until Hwan feels better. Hwan thanks him and gives him a hairband to wear, telling him it will let him fly and get down from the rock, and is very happy he can fly. But when he looks at the hairband, he sees it's a girly one and feels frustrated. Since he needs to fly, he has no other choice and wears it. He says goodbye to Hwan, thanks her for the time they spent together, puts on the hairband, and flies away, enjoying himself and feeling happy. While checking his ranking with Ding Dong, suddenly a large amount of energy from a spell hits him, causing him to fall. When he looks to see who did it, he finds Wang, whom An knows from Sho's notes. Sho wrote that Wang has been the academy's top student for 4 years and is the strongest. Now Wang stands before him, talking about Dao, who An thought he imagined on the rock, and tells him he can't escape this time. He's been waiting for him for 4 years, and if he doesn't appear after the 10th thunder strike, Wang will eliminate everyone in the academy and kick them all out of the competition. And suddenly, while An is watching Wang from a distance, he notices that Shu's tracking spell has turned red, which means Shu is in danger, so he rushes to the location marked for him. As for Shu, Ji is still chasing her, but this time he's not alone. He brings his friends and they surround Dobby and Shu. Ji starts arguing with Shu, telling her that this is the last time he'll tell her to stay away from An. Shu gets angry and taunts him by praising An in front of him, accusing Ji of being jealous of An because he's stronger, and saying that Ji hates him out of fear, nothing more. Ji gets really mad and is about to finish her off and eliminate her from the competition. But An arrives just in time, and with the force of his entry, he knocks knocks everyone back, including G. At that moment, An takes Shu and Dobby and moves them a bit away because he sees Wang's thunderbolt coming down on them from above. The thunder electrifies many participants, knocking them out of the competition. As for An, Shu, and Dobby, they are fine because the hairband An was wearing created a barrier that protected them from the thunder. But unfortunately, Wang's powerful thunder broke the hairband. Then, there is a scene of Dao sitting and receiving a thunderbolt that doesn't affect him, and he says that he won't be affected by karma, but we still don't understand what he means. After that powerful thunderbolt, we find that most participants are out and not many are left. G and some of his friends are still there, unaffected by the thunder. So An, as soon as he sees them still there, gives each one a blow that finishes them off. When An is about to hit G, Shu stops him and tells him that G was the one who disguised himself as Lu and attacked him, and she makes sure he takes it easy on G when he hits him, to the point that G gets scared of both of them. An reassures him and tells him not to worry, but then hits him in the face, sending him flying. When An defeats G and knocks him out of the competition, his level increases, reaching level 9. Then he goes to Shu and apologizes to her, explaining everything that happened and why he couldn't come to apologize earlier. Meanwhile, Wang is still waiting for Dao to appear to him, and when he doesn't find him, he prepares a spell to eliminate everyone still in the competition. But then Su and Qing come to stop him, and Su blocks the spell. An and Shu, thankful, watch from afar, cheering for their friends. But Wang is very powerful, and they can't handle him. He knocks Su out of the competition, so Qing asks everyone still in the competition to raise their hands to the sky and channel their energy to him so he can defeat Wang. Everyone does this, giving him spiritual energy, but still, it's not enough. Wang defeats Qing and knocks him out of the competition too. From the amount of energy released from Qing when he was knocked out, it reflects and bounces back towards An and Shu, and tries to prepare to block it, but he sees Dao appear in front of him, and as soon as he touches the energy with his finger, it disperses. Then Dao looks at An and asks if he learned that finger move. Then Dao tells him to get ready because next time, and will be the one looking for him, and disappears after saying that. At that moment, and doesn't understand anything at all. Ding Dong appears and tells him that there's no one left except him, Shu, and Wang, making it nearly impossible for him to be in the top 50 without turning into a girl unless he defeats Wang. And feels a bit hopeless because it seems impossible to defeat the strongest one in the entire academy, but he has no other choice. He shouts as loud as he can, challenging Wang, and breaks Shu's barrier, knocking her out of the competition so she doesn't get hurt. Professor Min and Professor Yu are watching what's happening. Yu wants to stop it because she's worried about An since Wang's power might not just knock him out of the competition but could kill him. However, Min stops her, saying what she's thinking of doing is forbidden and against the competition's rules. So Yu holds back and continues watching to see what will happen. Wang uses all his power and prepares a very powerful spell, throwing it towards An. And uses another spell to block Wang's, but An's spell breaks and Wang's spell continues towards him. At that moment, An remembers Dao asking if he learned the finger move. He tries it, pointing his finger at the incoming spell. The move works, breaking the spell and reflecting it back at Wang, breaking his barrier and knocking him out of the competition. An wins. An's ranking skyrockets, not just placing him in the top 50 but making him second. Everyone claps for him, and his friends are happy for him, except G, who looks at him with envy and hatred, seemingly ready to finish him off at that moment. After that intense battle, An gets a bit sick and has to stay home for 10 full days. After recovering, he finds that he's become very famous, and his popularity has spread throughout the spiritual world. He receives many gifts from the academy for winning the competition, and An is very happy with his life and what he has achieved. When he returns to the academy, his professors choose him, Shu, and Qing to go to the mortal world, an event that happens once a year where all the professors gather and select 3 to go to the mortal world for responsibilities they will learn about once they arrive. The professors also make An the leader of his friends Shu and Qing for their journey to the mortal world. An is very happy and wants to share his joy with his friends, so he announces that he has a surprise for the entire academy. He will buy them whatever they want from the mortal world. They just need to give him the money in the spiritual world, and he will handle the purchases in the mortal world. He tells them to come the next day and register with Su what they want exactly. Everyone cheers for An and is very happy. Huan also comes and tells everyone that she and An are starting a game club open to everyone, regardless of their level. Everyone gets even more excited and can't believe it, including Wang, who stands and claps for An, while G stands there shocked, seemingly the only one who doesn't like An. He tries to turn his classmates against An, but no one listens or cares, which frustrates and angers him more. As for Huan and An, they seem very close in front of everyone. Shu, seeing them, recalls the hairband An had and realizes that Huan was the one who gave it to him. She feels jealous of Huan but doesn't show it. The next day, almost everyone in the academy goes to An to register what they want. There are so many people that Shu, Qing, and Su help by distributing papers for everyone to write down what they want. Ji sits aside, watching An and feeling very jealous to the point of tears. Huan goes to An and shows him the number of people wanting to join their club, joking and laughing with him. Qing, seeing this, is surprised at how nice Huan is, not her usual nature. When he mentions this to Shu, he finds her unfocused, staring at An and Huan, daydreaming and feeling jealous. Qing pretends not to notice her jealousy and walks away as if he said nothing. Later, Professor Min approaches An, startling him because everything Min has said to An has been bad. Once he mocked him for having a 0 level in front of everyone, and another time he told him that much blood awaited him. But Min reassures An, saying he's only there to ask for things from the mortal world. An relaxes and feels reassured. Min then continues, saying he has some news to share. An gets scared and doesn't let him finish, thinking he can't take any more bad news, and runs away. Min laughs at how he runs off. And Sho comes and asks Min about what he wanted to tell An because she is curious. But Min is hesitant and doesn't want to tell her because he wants An to know this himself. However, Sho insists a lot until Min tells her that An's journey to the human world will be very dangerous for him, filled with many challenges he cannot handle, and he might die. Sho becomes very scared by his words and worried about An, deciding to protect him at any cost in the mortal world. Then, the time for An, Qing, and Sho's journey to the mortal world comes. They go to the gate that is supposed to transfer them, and before they enter, they say goodbye to Su, Dabi, and Huan. Each one encourages An for his journey and tells him what they want from there. Qing starts casting a spell to open the gate, and as soon as it opens, something long like hands emerges, binding An and pulling him towards the gate. At that moment, Sho remembers Min's words and gets very scared, so she runs after An and grabs the hand that pulled him, getting dragged along with him. Dabi, Su, and Huan run to help them, but Qing stops them, saying that he will go with them, and he enters the gate quickly before it closes. Inside the gate, An is unconscious, and Sho tries to wake him up. At that moment, the hand binds her too, and they both pass out. They arrive in the mortal world but find themselves in the sky with no hands around them and start falling. No one is conscious until Ding Dong intervenes and starts waking An until he wakes up, terrified to find himself falling with Sho next to him, and tries to act but doesn't know what to do until he decides to hold Sho and cast a powerful spell to slow their descent to the ground. They fall and hit the ground but do not die because of An's spell, sustaining only minor injuries. Qing comes to check on them and help, healing all of An's injuries. An jokes and laughs about what happened, and Sho messes with him because she was very scared, but An tries to calm her and reassure her that it's over. While they are laughing and joking, a girl from the mortal world named Tian arrives on a plane and tells An, Qing, and Sho that she is an investigator and they must come with her. At that moment, Sho feels uneasy about Tian and doesn't like her but has to go with her. They enter the plane, which also has human guards, and Qing is fascinated by its appearance, taking pictures of everything around him. Then An talks to Tian, introducing himself as the leader, and asks why they were brought here since they did nothing wrong and were just on a peaceful journey. Tian laughs at him and mocks him because he is still at the 9th level, the weakest among them. Sho gets angry and raises her sword against Tian, who feels insulted and raises her weapon, challenging Sho. Sho tells her that if she doesn't like their presence and mocks them when they did nothing wrong, why did she bring them in the first place? They argue angrily, almost starting a fight, but An tries to calm them down to no avail. Qing intervenes, casting a spell to calm them. Sho feels she was wrong and apologizes for getting so angry, and Qing accepts her apology. Tian tells them to prepare because they will be leaving the plane soon. She talks to them until the plane lands, explaining that in the human world or the mortal world, there is also a world of magic similar to the spiritual world, just weaker. There are wizards and strange things too, and many years ago, there were conflicts between the mortal world and the spiritual world. The mortal world doesn't like the spiritual world because the spiritual world makes them feel inferior. The plane lands and opens in a huge underground base, and they all exit, looking around in awe. In the place, there are other people, including a woman named Yuan, the head of the Wizards Alliance in the human world. When An sees her, he is starstruck because she is very famous and An is one of her biggest fans. Yuan welcomes them, introduces herself to the others, and shows them around, explaining that the reason there are many senior wizards today is because they will fight against the devil's followers. Then a man named Shirgu, also an official in the Wizard Alliance, tells An, Qing, and show that the reason they are gathered here now is to send them back to the spiritual world, and is very surprised and asks why. Shirgu tells him they have faced many difficulties in the human world for a long time and always asked for help from the spiritual world. When they finally responded, they sent 3 kids still in the academy, which felt like an insult. So they don't want to accept any help from the spiritual world and tell him to deliver a message to the spiritual world, telling them not to send their students to the human world again and that any problem will be solved by the human world's wizards. Shou then tells An and Qing that they should go back because she feels uneasy about what's happening. But suddenly, a red alert sounds, warning them that the Blood Clan is about to attack. Yuan is shocked because this means that a very strong clan, the Blood Clan, has allied with the Devil's followers, which is very dangerous since they are 2 of the greatest evil forces in the human world. Qing and An ask the others to let them help, and An says he has no connection to the conflicts between the spiritual and human worlds. He just wants to help for the sake of his city because the clan was going to attack the city he lived in before going to the spiritual world. Shirgu gets very angry and shouts at them, saying they will return to the spiritual world now and tell them that the human world will never need them. In his anger, he casts a spell to push them towards the gate, but Qing blocks it. Qing tells Shirgu they will duel to see who is stronger, and if Qing wins, they will let them defend the city with them. Shirgu agrees and scoffs at Qing because he is much stronger due to being older. But Ding Dong appears to An and advises him to take Qing's place and stand against Shirgu because he is the leader. An listens to her and says he will duel Shirgu. As they prepare to duel, Tian comes from behind An, shouting that she will never allow him to hit her father, and she starts fighting him. Her father laughs because An cannot defeat her at first, but within seconds, An gains control and easily blocks all her attacks. Shou is very happy and mocking Tian. At that moment, Tian gets very angry and casts her strongest spell on An, but he easily blocks it and reflects it back on her. Then he turns to face Shirgu, casting an emotional spell that makes Shirgu remember old memories and cry, allowing him to attack without resistance. Yuan stops him from hitting Shirgu, saying he has already won and she cannot believe he is this strong, and tells her this means they can fight with them. Yuan tells him there is one more test. If he passes, she will allow them to join the battle. The test is to endure her spiritual attack for as long as possible, and An agrees. Yuan creates a spiritual barrier around him, but Tian, still angry at An for defeating her, runs to attack him, hitting the barrier and passing out, almost dying. And catches her, breaks the barrier with his strength, and saves Tian. Yuan and Shirgu are amazed by his incredible power. Tian wakes up and thanks him for saving her. Yuan apologizes to An, admitting her defeat and saying it will be an honor to have his help. Then the red alert sounds again, warning of the Blood Clan. Shirgu grabs An and Tian, trying to bring them closer, saying that since they are the same age, they will go to the clan's location and gather information. They go through the gate to a place called the Ghost Village. An and Tian stand together for a while, deciding what to do. Tian tells An they need to know the enemy's strengths, weaknesses, and numbers to report back. In the midst of their planning, An notices a fog approaching from afar. Tian gets startled and tells him that this fog is poisonous and could even steal their souls and kill them. At that moment, Ding Dong appears and tells him that she has a special ability he can use to see through the fog and neutralize its poison. Tian then opens a device she has and detects that there are only 2 high-level enemies in the fog. She sends this information to the headquarters so they can decide what to do. After finishing, she tells them to hurry and hide before the fog reaches them. At the headquarters, everyone is busy planning their next move, especially since the enemy ahead is very strong. Shu and Qing ask to be sent to fight because Shu is worried about An and wants to stay by his side and protect him at any cost, constantly recalling Ming's words. We then return to An and Tian, who are preparing to retreat until someone from the headquarters can join them. Ability to stop the fog from advancing. He enters the fog and uses the eye technique she mentioned, discovering that there are actually 4 enemies, not just 2. He quickly exits the fog, grabs Tian, and they run to hide. He tells her to inform the headquarters that the information she sent was wrong and that there are 4 enemies in the fog, 3 from the Blood Clan and 1 demon follower. Tian then asks An why they haven't attacked them, laughing, with Tian also laughing in disbelief at what he did. Back at the headquarters, Shu and Qing continue to plead with Shirgu and Yuan to let them help, and Shirgu and Yuan refuse and send 2 others who are stronger instead. Shu disagrees and insists on going, but Shirgu stops her and has one of the others cast a spell on her to calm her down, and says if they fail, he will offer his head instead. He then takes Shu and enters the portal. Shirgu attempts to follow, but Yuan stops him, suggesting they monitor other areas instead. An alarm. Yuan tries to get images and is shocked, along with everyone else, as they see a group called the Black Feathers, who are known to be more dangerous than others. A particular person she's thinking of, though it's not clear who yet. In the ghost village, An and Tion are planning their next move since no help has arrived yet. An tells Tion they should attack the enemy before the spell wears off. An refuses, saying they should at least try to liberate this area and then see about the other areas. Everyone agrees, and Tion, moved by his words, thanks him for standing by them, but An hushes her, sensing something wrong. He tells them the enemy's crying has stopped and they are now very quiet. When he peeks out to check, Ching rushes to help since An can't fly. The others attack Ching, preventing him from escaping to assist, and Shu and Tion run towards him, trying to catch him before he hits the ground. Shu leaps to catch him, but a demon follower strikes her with lightning, causing her to fall to the ground. Tion, terrified for An, charges at the one who attacked him but can't defeat them. Before they can rest, the Black Feathers portal opens behind An, and a member of the Black Feathers pulls him inside. The others can't save him in time, and it becomes clear An was their target all along. We then see An and everyone from the headquarters in a place blower until she finally succeeds, and An wakes up. As he tries to grasp where he is and what exactly happened, Ding Dong explains the situation to him. He then asks her what he should do to get out of his current predicament. Ding Dong advises him to use the ring on his hand, thanking her for saving them, especially An. However, their joy doesn't last long as the Black Feather leader arrives, telling them the matter is not over but just beginning. She looks at Huan, and Huan looks back at her, revealing they know each other. Everyone realizes they are now in the realm of the dead. The group tells the leader she's crazy because she might start a war between the living world and the dead world, and eventually, she will also lose and gain nothing. But the leader doesn't care and quickly creates a portal, connecting it to Huan, and casts a spell on it to finish her off. And intervenes, saving Huan from the spell. Huan grabs her sword and cuts off the leader's wing, then tells Ching and the others that the leader is not very strong and that the 5 of them can easily defeat her. But the leader, still calm and confident, tells them the battle is just about to start. She draws power from 10 captured sorcerer leaders in the headquarters and channels it into one sword, telling him that the greatest king in all realms ordered her to finish him off, and that sword will be one of the 3 weapons prepared to defeat him. At that moment, Ding Dong appears to An and tells him that the sword is extremely dangerous and can penetrate any magical laws, even possibly destroying Ding Dong. No one understands what's going on. The leader prepares the second weapon, a nail with blood power, throwing it at An and dragging him to her, then stabbing the sword into his hand. An's hand and part of his face start turning black. Ching signals everyone to attack and help An. But with the third weapon, the Heavenly Star Disc, she absorbs all their magic and strength, immobilizing them. She then places a drop of her blood on the disc, causing it to spin rapidly, surrounding the entire area. The leader collapses, telling them that by dawn, the disc will have absorbed all the energy from both the spiritual and human worlds, and will then reflect it back, destroying all existing worlds. Huan and Shu ask her why they are doing all this and why they specifically targeted An. She explains that her king is upset because An is in a place he doesn't belong and wants to return him to his original place, punishing all realms because what An did defies his orders. Everyone screams at her, still not understanding exactly what An did, and they pass out due to the disc draining their energy. Later, An wakes up in a strange place with a gigantic Ding Dong in front of him. When he asks her where he is, Ding Dong tells him he is inside his subconscious mind. We see Ding Dong turning black due to the sword, but just before she completely turns black, a fairy emerges from her. An asks the fairy who she is, and she introduces herself as Tina, saying she is his soul mate who he thought was Ding Dong all this time, and she has been inside Ding Dong to stay close to him. Tina begins to explain everything from the beginning, telling him that a catastrophe was supposed to happen in the future that would cause his death. Because Tina loves him so much, she used all her power to travel back in time to prevent the disaster and change his fate. She was the one who led him to the academy, and the old man who first took him to the spiritual world is Tina's grandfather. This is why the king is upset, because this defies the universe's laws. With tears in her eyes, Tina tells him that everything happening now is because of her, and she only wanted to protect him and stay close to him. She gives him the last of her power to fix what's happening, saying she must disappear now and die. And wakes up, calling out for Tina until she appears and tells him they will fix everything together, and then she will let him continue alone. And is deeply moved by her words and doesn't want her to leave. She tells him they will say goodbye later and merges back into him, telling him to use her power to counter the sword and nail. And successfully counters them, gains control over them, and breaks the barrier created by the disc with the nail. He then lifts the sword and, with all his and Tina's power, destroys the disc, returning all the absorbed energy. Huan, Shu, and Qing wake up. Tina emerges from and bids him farewell, saying she must die now to satisfy the king, and instructs him to visit the spirit kingdom, emphasizing it is crucial and he must follow her advice like he always did when she was Ding Dong. They say their goodbyes, and she dies. Some time passes, and we switch to completely different events on an island where a girl named Titania lives alone, having been exiled there for 999 years. She must complete 1,000 years to leave the place by learning a specific magic called enlightened magic. She prepares for it by drawing paintings, through which she learns magic. As she draws, she imagines herself in a different form, needing to master the magic to leave the island and go to the heavenly royal alliance of kings to establish herself as a queen, fulfilling her mother's dying wish. A year later, on Dragon Island, a war is taking place. Every 1,000 years, many kingdoms battle for the island, and the victor rules the island for the next 1,000 years, repeating the cycle. This year, the near winner is the Bat King, who has just defeated a heavenly royal alliance king named Zishan. The Bat King goes to Zishan, gloating about reclaiming the land Zishan had occupied for 1,000 years, mocking Zishan. However, Zishan remains calm, not giving the Bat King any importance because Zishan is much older and stronger. The Bat King gets very annoyed and accuses Zishan of gaining his power from humans because he is their king. The Bat King boasts that he is stronger because he attacked and defeated them. Zishan is shocked to learn that the Bat King was behind the alliance of the Blood Clan, the Black Feather, and the Devil's followers to attack the human world to eliminate him. At the same time, Zishan receives a message confirming the Bat King's claims. Zishan gets angry and attacks the Bat King. They are about to fight when another message interrupts them. The message is from Titania, who declares that she will join the war on Zishan's side, but only if he agrees to let her be a queen in the Heavenly Alliance and control Dragon Island for 1,000 years. Zishan agrees, but on the condition that she masters enlightened magic before the time runs out. Titania accepts. She goes to complete the final step to master enlightened magic by drawing the last painting and taking energy from it. Unfortunately, things go out of control and the magic backfires, causing her to lose everything and faint, failing in the process. The Bat King laughs at her misfortune. Zishan then challenges him to a battle on Beryl Star Island in 3 days. The winner will gain control of Dragon Island and other islands, thus winning the 1,000-year war. He tells the Bat King to prepare his army and all allied forces for the upcoming battle, then walks away confidently as if he is sure of his victory. The Bat King then goes to another island and meets another king who is embodied in a scepter. He tells the Scepter King about what happened, revealing that it was all part of a plan to lure Zishan to Beryl Star Island outside his territory to defeat him. We learn that there is a great treasure on Dragon Island, which is why it is the center of many conflicts and desired by all. The Scepter King congratulates the Bat King on his intelligence and makes a personal request to eliminate anyone from the Magic Academy who comes to the island in the near future. We return to An in his spiritual world home, waking up to a message from Huan, asking him to meet her before going to Dragon Island. The message repeats until An gets frustrated and asks his system, which he created after Ding Dong was no longer around, to turn off the sound, but the system doesn't understand him. And remembers Tina, who was always there to help him without him even asking, and he misses her. He tries to adjust to his new life with the new system, and gets up when he receives another message from the Academy, instructing all those going to the island to gather at the Academy in an hour. He prepares, unsure of what to take with him, whether the sword, the nail, or the disc, as he can't take much. He ends up gathering random items. He goes to meet Huan, as she had requested, and they play and compete. She tells him to summon her from the ring she gave him if he needs anything on the island, and she will come immediately. Before he leaves, she gives him a dress that increases his power, surprising him. He tells her he would never wear anything that makes him look like a girl. She laughs and reminds him of the ring and the necklace he wore, making him embarrassed. He changes the subject, but she suggests he could give it to Sho instead, and tries to give the dress to Sho, but she refuses, saying it was a gift for him from Huan and he must keep it. Since An can't take many items on the trip, he doesn't know what to do with the dress, certainly not throwing it away. He then offers the dress to Qing, who looks at him from head to toe and then throws him out, and goes back to Sho, this time presenting the dress as a gift from him, thanking her for standing by him all this time. Sho accepts the dress, and when she wears it, she grows wings and flies, and her level increases. When An sees that the dress is at her level, he cheekily asks if he can borrow it for 5 minutes to raise his level and then return it. Sho pretends not to hear him to avoid regretting knowing him. and receives a message from the academy that there's only 1 minute left before the trip, so Sho takes in and they fly towards the spaceship that will take them to Dragon Island. Professor Yu, the supervisor of the trip, doesn't wait for An and Sho and orders the spaceship to leave. Sho increases her speed to catch up, but the spaceship is too fast. Ching, Su, and the others on the ship cheer for Sho and An, urging Yu to wait, but she refuses. Yu recalls a conversation with Professor Min, who warned her that An would be in danger if he went to the island. That's why you purposely didn't let An board the ship. She tells everyone to sit down as they have 10 seconds left before the ship enters space. These 10 seconds are the remaining time for An and Sho to board the ship. If they miss it, they won't go to the island. Despite Sho's bad luck, Wang arrives just in time to help them, casting a spell to speed up Sho so they can reach the ship faster. Ching, Su, and everyone on the ship try to help them board faster. After a long struggle, An and Sho finally reach the ship in the last 2 seconds. Everyone is happy for them. The ship takes off into space as the island is in another galaxy in a completely different world. Professor Yu starts explaining the island's history, telling them they are going at this time because a war is about to happen between the kings on the island. She explains that 10,000 years ago a giant star exploded on the island, leaving a piece with immense power buried there. Since then, conflicts have occurred every 1,000 years over the island. And interrupts, asking why the academy didn't allow them to bring their weapons if there's a war and they might get involved. Yu changes the subject without answering and asks Ching to entertain them since it's a trip, and they all start singing and enjoying their time. Meanwhile, the Bat King prepares his army and strategies for the upcoming war. We learn that the Bat King needs to find the buried star fragment to rule the island and gain the power to win the war. We shift to Titania, where the girl she used to imagine is now real and with her. This happened because of the last time she tried to perform magic, and it backfired, making the imaginary girl real. They both go to the top of a mountain on their island. Titania uses her brush to perform magic to see what is happening outside their island and glimpse the future. The first thing they see is the Bat King's scepter, sensing a terrifying power within it. They also see Dragon Island, which appears scorched from all the wars. Suddenly, the girl with her feels strange pain as they see the future, showing the Bat King on Dragon Island. Titania realizes that Zishan will be defeated, as the battle was supposed to be on Beryl Star Island. The fact that the Bat King is on Dragon Island means Zishan will lose the war and the Bat King will take the island. The girl urges Titania to warn Zishan to take greater precautions, but Titania says it's no use as they won't believe her. As they continue to foresee, they see a woman in front of them. Suddenly, they both feel unwell and cannot continue. Titania meets the woman and learns from her that she was the one who gave the remaining piece of the shattered star to Titania's mother. It's revealed that the star once housed an entire advanced civilization, and the people inside were extremely developed. What happened was that, due to the rapid advancement of the star's inhabitants, the rulers of other realms feared one day these people might decide to attack them. So, the other rulers of the Heavenly Union decided to destroy the star before the people inside could harm them. The entire star was destroyed in a single day, and almost all of its inhabitants died, except for Titania's mother, who had been away on a journey at the time. When Titania's mother returned, everything was destroyed. The rulers of the Heavenly Union exiled her and refused to let her stay in any of their lands. As a result, she and Titania went to the Dragon Island because her mother hoped to find some remnants of the star. There, she met a strange woman who gave Titania's mother a brush and told her it contained all the power of the star. Titania's mother passed it down to Titania, and that's the same brush she holds now. Titania tells the woman with her that the brush holds immense power from the star, and she never imagined that a whole piece of the star still exists on the island. She can't fathom the full extent of its power and decides that she must find this piece before the Bat King does. Meanwhile, the group from the academy is about to arrive. Professor Yu informs them that they will be split into 4 teams for the day, each with a leader, and the task is to kill as many enemies as possible for fun. The team that kills the most enemies will win. She appoints Shu, Ching, Su, and Ji as the 4 leaders, but An is told to go alone and not join any team. The next day, they will all meet in the Dijuan village on the island. Yu asks him to jump from the spaceship, but An falls because he can't fly yet. Frustrated, he asks the system what he needs to do to reach the level needed to fly. The system tells him he must jump from a high mountain. When An looks around, he spots a distant mountain. When he heads there to jump, a strange light suddenly emanates from the mountain, shooting up into the sky and enveloping the area in a red hue. Meanwhile, Titania is trying to open a portal to reach Dragon Island, using all her strength along with the woman. But something strange happens. Titania becomes exhausted and can't continue, and the woman becomes stronger than her. The woman keeps going and attempts to open the portal using the brush. Back with you and the Academy students on the spaceship, the light from the mountain surrounds the island, isolating it from the outside and separating the sky from the earth. Now, An is on the ground, while his friends and colleagues are still in the spaceship above. The Bat King's size grows to the point that he reaches the sky. He casts a spell to destroy their ship, but Professor Yu intervenes and creates a protective barrier around the ship, asking everyone to prepare because they are heading to Dichuan. The Bat King declares himself the ruler of all realms, and using his scepter's power, he casts a spell to find all the treasures and relics from the star without having to search for them himself. The barrier that Professor Yu had created around the ship is shattered by the Bat King's force and the ship is destroyed. Everyone falls off, but Yu saves them by creating individual barriers for each one until they reach Dichuan. When they arrive, they climb to the highest mountain peak, which reaches the sky. Yu is exhausted from all the resistance and asks Qing, Ji, Su, and Shu to defend themselves and their comrades. The Demon King uses the scepter to locate the star's relics and is overjoyed. He sends out insects from the ground to fight at the location of the relics. To everyone's surprise, the location is where Titania is, and it turns out that the remaining piece of the star's relics is with her.